our agenda meeting. At this time, just a couple quick reminders to begin with. First off, board members, welcome. Central office folks and folks out there, welcome to everyone. People online, also welcome to you. We do have a kind of a hard stop at 5:45 today. There is a FAFSA event that will be here in the same room, and they need some time to set it up. It starts at 6:30, so if at all possible, we need to be closing up by 5:45. And it will be, just to let everybody know, there will be a need for a closed session next week, so that will be needed. I've asked Ms. Crable again to keep up with our time, so thank you, Ms. Crable, for doing that. She said no and yes at the same time, so it was great. So we appreciate that. Ms. Bowie, would you please call the roll?
Good afternoon. Pete Wildebohr.
Present.
Melissa Mason.
Here.
Josie Barnhart.
Here.
Pat Bradford.
I am here.
Stephanie Craybill.
Here.
Hugh McManus.
Key.
And Stephanie Walker.
Here.
All right, thank you. Welcome again. At this point, we will have our invocation.
My name is Jason Baisden, and I'm one of the pastors here at Life Point Church. Thank you for allowing me to offer your invocation this morning. Father, we just thank you right now that you are in the midst of everything that we can and will do. We just ask that your Spirit be present and available. Thank you that we can call on you as God to order all things that will be said today and talked about. I ask that there would be support in the room and that there would also be encouragement and strength. Lord, we just thank you that you are available whenever we ask for you, and we ask for your presence today. For those that may come in weighted or heavy-hearted or distracted, I just ask that you would minister to them now in the name of Jesus. We thank you that you are God of all things, and you can be God of this discussion, and that it can be profitable and productive for all that are listening, and that it will go on to be a great meeting and good things decided, and everyone would leave feeling productive and ready to go about the rest of their day. So God, we thank you. We say all this in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen. We've asked Ms. Crable to lead us in the pledge. Ms. Crable?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next order of business is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second? First and second, any discussion? Ms. Craybill?
Yeah, I had why are we voting, I know why we're voting on one of the consensus items, because we have to do it to get a savings. But is there a reason why we wouldn't just put these consensus items over on the regular agenda as F and G perhaps, than voting on, because we don't normally vote on things here at this meeting except for personnel. I know one of them we have to because we want to get a savings.
Yes, sir.
It's Dawn's.
Ms. Craybill, the polling-place usage agreement is on there because it was a last-minute change, and they have a deadline of February 2nd to send out a notice of that change.
Oh, that's the same February 2nd date for both of them. The one for the VM purchasing software
Well,
also.
I don't know about that one. I'm
Okay.
only speaking to the polling places agreement.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I had asked if we could vote on that today instead of waiting until the 6th, just for that reason, so they could make that notice.
Okay, that's fine.
Great.
And then the other one was, I was wondering where could we add, either at this meeting at the end or onto the regular agenda, a discussion on the guidelines for agenda review. We need a written document of some sort to talk about how that works. So perhaps I think it's on the policy committee to talk about that board policy, so maybe we talk about it there. But just so that we all understand when we vote, when we don't vote, when we hear information, when we make motions, because it seems to come up like every single time.
Okay. And I don't think we have a problem in that. Is that okay with you? We'll do it just because of the time constraints for today. I don't think today would be the day to do it, but that way we have time to get it prepared for next week. Would that work for the policy committee?
I mean, yes, let's speak to, without speaking to policies, that was one of the things that, there was 4 policies that I brought to the last policy committee meeting to help streamline the process, and that was one of the feedback that the committee did. We held that policy in committee so that it could be further studied, and one of the things noted on there was to add potential language of a specific agenda review. From a previous meeting, we had discussed agenda reviews are a specially called meeting, and so whether or not we had specific language for agenda review or just had it added to the specially called meeting was the debate. So, but that is on for discussion in the next class.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, yes, ma'am?
if you'll recall, we had an ad hoc committee that met for months,
Mhm.
and there was a written document, and all these things were adopted, and so we could just refer back to that.
And to that point, we didn't have a written document. We had recommendations on different things. So there's no procedure on that. So that's but we can talk about it in policy. I'm perfectly happy to do that. So I retract that.
Okay. Anything else, board members? No, if not, all in favor of adopting the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, like sign. Passes 7-0. We will carry on with our agenda. Again, I'm going to go as we have in the past. Write down if there is a question, please stop me. And, you know, if I'm looking down, you know, that's fine to call out and just say, Mr. Wildebohr or Chairman or whatever. Okay, opening, call to order, roll call, approval agenda, invocation, presentation of colors, national anthem, and then Pledge of Allegiance. Who would like to do the pledge this month?
I'll do it.
Okay. Ms. Bradford? Okay. Approval of the minutes, recognitions, student voice, teacher voice.
Are we going to have recognition? I'm trying to
Good
keep track
question.
of time. So
Yes, ma'am?
Okay, do we
Yes.
have 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Would like to get 10 minutes if we
Okay.
could. We've got 9 of them.
Well, I don't care. I'm just keeping track.
10 minutes, very good. 10 minutes for recognition, student voice, teacher voice, superintendent's report, board chairman's report, call the audience 60 minutes. We have 5 minutes for the consensus items. Is there any reason we would need more time for that? I don't think so. Very good. Policy amendments, and then policies for second reading. About how much time do you think we would need for that? Ms. Barnhart?
It's just consensus, so 5 minutes unless the board members have other input.
Okay, 5 minutes.
For the whole thing?
Ms. Barnhart?
Yes. It's a consensus policy, so unless the board members have an extension of time, it sounds like you do, but
No, I'm just saying that I don't really have any problem with it, but I think that I would like to see policy 1310 discussed, just so that you can tell us what is new, because we've gone over this, every meeting, but that's okay, because we're adding new things each time, to meet our commitment. So I would like to leave some time that we talk about 1310, and
you want Dr. Faison to discuss the ads, is that what you're asking?
whoever did the ads. Julie's been doing the ads sometimes, you've been doing the ads, as we're rolling through, adding in links to this and handbooks that. and-
To the Parent Bill of
Yeah,
Rights?
well, yeah, to that 1310
Okay,
slash
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
that's the Parent Bill of Rights.
4002, yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we say 15 minutes? That way that we have plenty of time, and again, I'd rather have a little extra time than not enough time.
Well, and the policies for second reading, 7205 is on there, and I know there's going to be some discussion on that. So I think we need to just plan for that and not cut people off.
Okay, Ms. Walker?
I was looking at 2230, there is nothing in there about soil and water. I mean, if you made appointments to that, that's not in here. So we're supposed to be approving these policy changes.
Right, so that was, policy 2660 was bumped from the last policy agenda to add more time for policy 7205 and allow the students to make their presentation. And so that will come to the policy committee in February, to do that. So 2660, I believe is the policy number. It's appointment and liaison to board, and the language is already there for that. It's just,
So I'll just say it's got board committees here for 2230. It's not.
Well,
yes, ma'am. And that's what I'm trying to say, is there's another policy that is board appointment liaison position. And so upon, with conversation with the attorney, that this is the best fit for the policy. It's not it's not our standing committee of soil and water. We will have board members sitting on this committee, so therefore it would be a better qualification for a liaison position to outside board committees, if that makes sense. It's a separate policy.
It does, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And we haven't approved that policy 2660, so we can't really have a person appointed to it until we look at the process.
Okay. So 15 minutes, you think that?
For the whole thing,
That's what we got, or do we want to go to 20? Make sure. I mean, again, rather have,
I would say 20 minutes,
Okay.
just to make sure that everybody has time to,
okay. So policy,
to
the
weigh
whole,
in.
the whole area, the
the
whole
whole
section
policy I got done for 20 minutes.
will be 20 minutes, okay. Going on to old business, we have the Vogel Law Firm. How much time do you think we need for that? Probably at least, again, 20 minutes, I would think.
At least 20 minutes, yeah.
Okay. 20 minutes. And then Career Readiness Academy at Mosley. Also, I think you put that up, 20 minutes.
So I have a question about that one.
Okay.
So I'm looking in here where, on the behind the scenes, where it's showing that we're seeing the same slides again. And it just says, board will discuss. I would like to see some more points on what the board feels like we're discussing, because I don't want to just us to get in there and discuss, because it was my impression that the superintendent had decided to keep the program open in its entirety with no deadline. So if we have specific things that we want to hear, I think they should be written here so that the people involved have time to present something to us. And again, this would have been information and should have been on our agenda today for information. So that's why I'm just wondering what this means. What is this? I don't want to get into it just a hash out.
Okay, well, one thing I would like to add to that conversation is, I think it was brought up that, you know, that the Career Readiness Academy at Mosley didn't fulfill all the things it needed to fulfill, so I think we need to come up with you guys, need to come up with a plan on ways that we can improve that whole program. I mean, it's supposed to be a Career Readiness Academy, but it was brought to our attention that it doesn't do a very good job the students and teachers do a great job, but I mean, as far as fulfilling it being that title as Career Readiness Academy, and it was brought to our attention, I think, by Dr. Faison, that we don't have a lot of careers available at the Career Readiness. Am I correct, Dr. Faison?
Yes.
So my point was, do we expect them in 5 days to come up with what the plan looks like going forward? Because if we're not ready to present that, then why are we talking about it? Why can't we just keep rolling like we are and then expect that the district would come back with some sort of plan? I mean, just to rehash and hash is not a good use of our time. And it's a distraction to the students and the teachers, and parents and families at that school. If we don't have something concrete different to say, then why are we talking about it now?
Okay. Ms. Bradford? Ms. McManus?
I think the public has questions. I have questions. I sent to the chair and the vice chair, I have 7 or 8 specific questions. There's things that we were told were this way, and we were told by other parties they were that way. I want to know what's really the truth. I want to know where we lie. The public wants clarification.
You mean where
I
we
want
stand?
clarification.
Not where we lie?
Well, for example, we were told there's 15 employees, and yet we had an employee of the school email us all and say, well, it's not actually 15, it's more like 7, and these people are shared among 2 or 3 schools. That would bring the overall cost down. So I want to drill down and find out, where the truth lies in all of this, so that we as board members can know. I have lots of questions.
And Ms.
So it
Bradford,
should have been
Dr. Faust
information.
just asked if you wouldn't mind just sending
Oh, sure.
those
Sure.
questions. Mr. McManus?
She was ahead of me.
Or Ms. Walker, I'm sorry?
Well, I follow up to that, because I think Ms. Bradford asked me to do a motion last time for a cost analysis.
Yeah, that's what I was going to.
Well, we don't have that on the slide.
Yeah.
I would like a more in-depth cost analysis.
We do have that ready. So the question about the cost analysis, it has personnel names on it. So we didn't know if we could do it out here because the school is so small. You'll be able to pick out who the person is, and it actually has salaries and everything beside their name. So that's ready. We have that for you.
Maybe better to be discussed, that part anyway in closed session, because then we can see,
So today or for the Tuesday meeting?
I would say for Tuesday meeting, because I don't think it's on for today. Mr. McManus?
Are we required to vote again? You said that you wanted to drop your recommendation to change it, and I know the county commissioners collectively want to keep it, so I'm gonna make a good assumption they're gonna pay for that 1.3. So do we have to vote though? Because right now, we voted, we were getting ready to vote. Do we have to vote for whatever?
I wouldn't think so.
I'd like to
It was
vote.
never,
I would like to vote.
Okay, well, I think it would be unanimous. We can vote right now if we get over with. And
But
that's
we're
just
not
the time.
supposed to vote at these meetings because it hasn't been noticed.
Okay, well, I
That's
think
where
we've got to make sure everyone says officially, Mosley is not going anywhere. Then we can start asking questions. But I don't expect us to be sharp enough and receive input from staff and professionals about what we should do, make sure what we can do to help improve and support.
Mhm.
And
Mr.
we
Chair,
need time to collect that, I think, not just open it.
Parliamentary inquiry. I'm not sure that one of our board members is correct, that we cannot vote at this meeting, so I'd like clarification from the parliamentarian if we may.
Sure.
And Mr. Waterboard, before he weighs in, that is my sole reason for wanting to discuss what we do at this meeting and what we don't. So I thought we had decided we don't vote at these meetings, but that's just my thought. So maybe we go back and we listen, but we need something in writing to show that we do it or we don't, because it affects our noticing on here, that we don't have any voting things, and we need to know it, the community needs to know it if we're expected to make decisions. And we owe that.
I would say at least the thought that we don't vote at all, we have to vote on personnel every time, so we do obviously.
Well, but we decided on that. We talked about
We have
that.
voted on those things. We have.
Mr. Vogel?
Are you there?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think this has come up before, and the board can cast votes at these meetings, agenda review meetings, especially called meetings.
You can, sir? I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have another parliamentary inquiry.
Okay.
Can we ask the board attorney, whether a motion that has been previously adopted can be rescinded even if a contract of employment has been signed by both parties? I'm reading my Roberts. I don't have a law degree, and I'd like clarification on that.
What page are
Can
you
you
on?
hear me? Can you hear me, Mr. Vogel?
Could you point us to the page so we can follow along?
288.
In what book? This
This
one?
one? Did you hear me, Mr. Vogel?
I heard you, Mr. Chair, if I'm hearing the question correctly, there's an inquiry about rescinding a vote where the vote might have been for a contract. I'll just say this right now, that, as I'm hearing that question, that when there's a contract, a legally binding contract, then there are, contract rights that kick in. It's not merely a matter of Robert's rules, but it's a matter of contract law. So I'm really not prepared to say anything, more than that right now.
Okay, so the contract.
What contract are we talking about with Mosley?
You're good. Mr. Chairman, I notify the board today of my intent to make a motion at our next meeting to rescind the motion to approve the 3-year extension of employment contract for Superintendent Charles Faust.
When did you say, this is what I'm talking about. We can't keep bringing this crap up, pulling it out of our tail
Point of
ends.
order.
Yeah.
No, but this is ridiculous.
Ms. Crable, you're out of order.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is ridiculous.
Ms. Crable, thank you. Ms. Mason's been trying for the last 5 minutes to say something, so thank you. We've heard that. Ms. Mason?
In regards to Mosley, we also did vote on a delay of the timetable, and with the change that has recently occurred, and possibly if we do decide to vote, we may want to also consider discussing if we want to revert that timetable. I don't want to keep going back and forth with everyone, but if this is going to cause inconvenience to people, I just figure if we should at least talk about it, even if we leave it as is, but I think that that's an important thing for us to even just discuss. So.
And
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
fine with that explanation. All I would like is for us to update for us and for the public on what we plan on talking about. As it relates to Mosley. Are we going to get a cost analysis? Do we want to change the timeline? Do we not want to change the timeline? Before, Mosley wasn't even on the table for selection, but now it is on the table for selection. So there's a lot we have to do, but this doesn't reflect that. It says we're just going to discuss it. And so we need to have some concrete points to discuss so that our staff can come prepared to discuss, meaningfully. So I take that point. I mean, I forgot about that one. But, but we can't just be like throwing out contracts with the superintendent and muddying all the waters. So that's what kind of got us in this sort of little bit of predicament of muddling things together that should not be muddled together.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Ms. Walker?
I just had a follow-up to the discussion on the cost analysis. I know, obviously you don't want to out people's salaries, but I feel like some of that's public anyway, so I would rather as much of it be out in the public as possible. I don't know if we can get an opinion on that, or...
Well, and I don't think there's any reason...
The state gives a salary schedule for every level, everybody.
Mr. Vogel, if they say we whited out the people's names, would that be, okay to have in public, in open session? Yeah.
Well, Mr. Chair?
Got a question, Mr. Vogel first.
Mr. Chair, I'm not following. I don't know what we're proposing to white out. What names on what document? I'm just not following.
Dr. Faust had mentioned that in the cost analysis there are actually people's names on that cost analysis, employees' names. So they make X number of dollars. This teacher makes that much. That kind of thing. And he was saying that he wasn't sure, or I interpreted that he was saying that he's not sure that would be a thing we could put in open session or discuss in open session. It would be more of a closed session because it's talking about personnel and their salaries.
Yeah, if I can, Mr. Chairman, let me get back to you and Dr. Faust about that. I hadn't been contacted to look into that. I'll be happy to look into that.
Okay.
Just a point, Mr. Chairman. We had a public records request about 4 or 5 weeks ago that had every salary in the school district, including ours. So it's on the public records request. Anyone can access it. So I don't see why it would, if it's public record, it's public record.
It's not an argument. If you want to see it, we can publish it. It's not an issue.
Okay.
I just want us to be as transparent as possible because it's a very delicate thing, and last week was just off the rails.
Yes.
I would like to keep it off the rails.
Yeah. Well, and then it'd be better to have it be transparent in open session. Mr. McManus?
I hope that we make sure that anyone whose exact position might be cut is aware of that before we have an open meeting. Is that?
And that's what he was saying was it's easily identifiable who that person is because we have so little people. I just think it's disrespectful.
Well, it depends on what we're told we can and can't do, but I would like to think that you could still tell them one-on-one if they said we didn't get to discuss it. I can't think of anything more negative for our staff and what we represent up here. Talk about somebody maybe because of the budget losing their position, and I don't know who they are. I don't think anybody does yet, without at least letting them be aware that they're in that mix. We are, we have a lot of power up here sometimes.
That's for sure. Ms. Barnhart?
I'm going to echo what Ms. Walker said about the cost analysis, and then I was also looking through, because I think an unsettling thing has been the process with this all, and so I was looking over policy 3470/4305. So as far as talking points, as Ms. Craybill mentioned, I would like for the board to consider revamping that policy so that we can all be on the same page of where the expectation lies, because I think that as a board, we did our job, and we held a hearing and we did different processes, and so looking over this policy and even just whose decision it was to make with the program itself of career readiness, and so to help us moving forward to kind of have further direction in that policy. So I would like for the board to consider making a directive to the policy committee to update that policy, 3470/4305.
I'd second that if it was a motion.
Well, I'm just saying, as far as points of discussion, that would be something that I'd like for us to consider.
Okay, we can definitely do that Tuesday. All right. So we
So
have about,
you're going to have Ms. Bowie update the main points, the description of the main points, so that we're all clear on what we're talking about?
I would say so, yeah. The things we've just discussed, we've talked about the cost analysis, we've talked about 3470 now, adding that into discussion.
I'll send my questions to everyone.
I'm sorry?
I'll send my questions to everyone.
Please, okay, send them to everybody, that's great.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
Is my understanding of alternative schools, I'm not certain I understand exactly when we're talking about alternative, because is it a innovative school? Is it an early college high school? You know, is it just another program? Alternative to me, I thought meant more like, you know, a J.C. Rowe or a Lake Forest Academy. And we have to set the record straight somewhere that Mosley is not a school for kids with special needs. It's not a school for kids that they get sent there. It's a program that they apply to and they are accepted into. And so it is not a school for special needs, which is what has been proliferated in the media. So we need to get our wording right. So is Mosley considered an alternative school, or is it considered a specialty program? I mean, it was at one point a specialty program.
It's not an alternative school.
Right, so that's why I'm thinking this policy doesn't really play into that. So do we want to discuss it later, or do we want to hear it now to do that? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, had we been thinking forward, this was information that we asked for, and it should have been under information here. And our decision, we vote on it next Tuesday. So we're already kind of swaying out of our agenda review and our agenda discussion. So, but I think that 3470 may not be the appropriate, and I'm just throwing that out because it's not an alternative school. And I think we all have to get on the same page here so that we're talking to the media and the community and each other, that we have to know the specifics, the correct specifics about our schools and what they offer. And this is not a school for kids with special needs.
Would you share the definition that you shared with me yesterday about that? You said that it is a school that has a majority of special needs children. Do you remember that?
I think it's 35%.
It's not a special needs school, but it's a school with a majority of special needs students.
35 is not a majority in anybody's book, unless you're like not doing math.
Well, if you have 60 students, 35 is 50%, more than 50%, that is a majority, ma'am.
Doesn't matter.
Well, and we have
And we could take those percentages at any number of our high schools. So I think we should be comparing the right things, because, and we all need, and maybe that's what we need to talk about too, is that we all need to be on the same page, seriously, about what this school offers and what it does do and what it does not do and all of that stuff.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other discussion? Yes, ma'am, Ms. Walker?
About this, we went through the consensus, I did have a question.
Okay.
Want to go back?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Can we finish this one up? How much time do we want on this?
We had 20 minutes.
We had 20 minutes for Vogel.
We have 20 minutes for career readiness.
That's what I written to.
You think 20 is okay?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Ms. Walker?
So I had printed out, I was just curious, the consent side of contracts and purchases report, is this the report that we get that's anything over $100,000?
Yes. Yes.
I was just curious, that's what our kind of question on. This is from this calendar year, the budget year.
Yes, that's correct.
Just going to ask questions now, so we don't ask them next week.
That's it?
That's it.
Very good. Okay, we're going to carry on with Mr. McManus. He brought up and reminded me that I had failed to put on, so we did that. We had a first and second in time to put it on cell phones and classrooms. Mr. McManus, I'm going to let you
Briefly,
go.
I just think.
Where is that? Go.
It's under new business.
New business.
It's right here on the blue sheet.
Go for it.
Yeah, she's got her copy.
Just like for the board to discuss a policy about cell phones in school. If you visit the schools and you walk in a classroom or by, if you don't see a third to half of the kids with a cell phone, you're not looking very well. And if you ask the teachers, I think they will agree. I believe behavior will improve, I believe test scores will improve, and I certainly believe that getting along will improve. But it's not going to work as a former administrator unless all the teachers are held to that standard. Otherwise, it's a waste of time.
And we were
I would
actually-
suggest we involve the principals in this discussion.
Yes, sir. And I was just going to mention, we were at a school today that actually, as I pointed out to Mr. McManus, as we walked into the door, there was a big sign that outlined exactly that. So, Ms. Walker?
I just want to add that at one of our town halls, that was the topic of discussion at one of the tables, at least at my table that I was at. And it took the whole time up, but it was definitely an interesting conversation because there were a lot of different ways to look at it, and there were teachers that were doing it and weren't doing it. I think it's helpful. I think I even asked my daughter, she graduated in 2017, and she said that her teacher had a policy. And I think it might be good to have a policy.
Ms. Bradford?
And I agree, and it wasn't a town hall, it was the thing Ms. Barnhart put on for the legislative, and we had the different counties, and at my table, that was a big part of the discussion among the county members. Not our county, but Pender and Brunswick, that this is I think it's a national situation, it's a national problem that we need to address. So I'd be in favor of that.
Ms. Graybill?
So I'm just going to come back again to our structure, is that we're adding it to the agenda, have no problem. I think the topic is
It's
right.
already there.
What do we want to have for us to guide our discussion? What do we want our senior staff to put together for us? Because it was my understanding from listening to the ad hoc committee that we didn't want to waste time or add more time on our regular meeting agendas to just talk about stuff. That we should have talked about it at the agenda review, had a presentation from the staff or from a board member, what do we want to talk about, and then if we're going to do any voting, then we do it at the meeting. So I'm hearing from this, maybe we have to change policy. Well, do we send it back to the policy committee first, or do we talk about it first and then send it to the policy to kind of massage through that? So I'm just interested in what we want for the public to see and for the staff to come with us to present. What do we need to further this discussion?
Ms. Barnhart, and I'll get back to Mr. McManus.
Thank you, Mr. Wilbur. I seconded to put this on the agenda, and I echo the sentiment of what Mr. McManus and Ms. Walker said. This came up as a town hall discussion, a conversation. We had a forum that came through, and they talked about technology use in the classroom. So as far as points of discussion, what I'd like for the board to consider as a directive that would work with the central office staff, and especially with our principals, going to these principal meetings, but having a tiered system of expectation of cell phone use for our pre-K and elementary school students, our middle school students, and our high school students. Because if you have a consistent policy, it makes it easier to enforce on the school level and things like that. So as far as concerns that we're hearing, bring them to the table so that then the staff can do their job and in turn go to policy, create the policy. I think this is an opportunity for a directive to do that.
Mr. McManus?
I was just say, I thought I mentioned that we should involve the principals, also look at what other schools are doing, what hadn't worked, and what does work. But I do think we need to talk about it. We've got the rest of this year, school year, time to implement that, everybody to understand. So I don't think it's that difficult. The difficult people we approving it and having the teacher support.
Ms. Mason? And Ms. Graber?
So you out the corner of his eye, I'm impressed. In just listening to the dialogue that's happening, I think that what would be great is if we can set up these meetings with staff and with admin and just kind of get their feedback, but also get our feedback and then possibly send it to policy. I think it does need to be a policy change. I think we need to be a little more explicit in what we have in there. And I would say, maybe for us as a board to get prepared for it, I would say look through the policy and see if there's any gaps that you see and just write them down, and then we can bring those to policy committee, we can bring those to admin, we can bring those to teachers and see if they agree.
Ms. Graybill? Ms. Walker?
So this is sounding to me like the work session that we have not scheduled, that I had asked for, and we all agreed to, a work session where we talk about the things that we heard at the town halls in the fall. We've had 2, and this is one of those ones. And I believe this is more of a work session kind of topic We're not in an emergency to change our cell phone policy between now and the end of school, unless people think that we are. But so I would like to suggest that we put this on our work session, and then we get that scheduled, because we've already asked for it, and this is pertinent, because everybody keeps bringing up, we heard about it at the town halls, and we haven't done anything about it. Well, why don't we have the information from the comms department? They gave it all to us, and now we need to sit down and talk about it more in a more organized fashion, like what we want. Like when you say, look at the policy, what policy do you want us to look at?
It's attached. The policy that's attached, 4318.
And where is that?
It's on there.
All right, we'll go over to Ms. Walker.
Only thing I would like to add is if we could somehow get input from parents, because I know when we had this, Josh Diamond here talking about something, we had a little discussion about safety and parents' worry over not being able to get, I just would like to have parents in the mix, if that's okay. I don't know what that looks like, whether it's a survey, I don't know, but I just think it's important that they have input.
Ms. Bradford?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that agenda review meetings were to discuss these things and to hash them out and so on, so that we don't have to bring this entire ship in for another meeting. So, you know, unless Mr. McManus was planning to, is this on here for today, for next Tuesday to have that discussion?
It is.
Or it is? Okay, then never mind. I was gonna say we could do it a month from now.
If we agree to have discussion, then
You
we'll
know.
just say who we invite, and then we go from there.
And that was my point, Mr. McManus, is this is the
Well, I thought I made that. I
perfect place
apologize.
for
No,
our
you
work
did.
session. We just need to schedule it.
Okay. So how long, Mr. McManus, would you feel we would need for this discussion next week?
Where we do become lengthy.
Would
Well,
you be amenable if we
Ms. Graybill?
didn't
Ms.
put it,
Graybill?
oh, I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Graybill? He's still speaking. You have the floor, Mr. McManus.
If you let me do it and close it, 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
All we want to do is agree and then decide who we're going to invite. And
Okay.
then plan for it.
All right, very good.
We don't,
10
We
minutes.
can't
don't try
talk
to
about that
resolve
in
it
closed session,
at
so
that
let's not even make it sound like we're going to, because we're not.
not what?
We can't talk about this in closed session.
I didn't say closed
Did you
session.
say,
He said in 10 minutes I could talk about it in closed session.
no,
No, I didn't.
close it.
Oh,
Close
okay,
it, yeah.
sorry.
Okay. All right, so we'll give 10 minutes to that, then we have correspondence, announcements. We have closed session, we will have that closed session, that's probably going to take at least 1 hour. We will hear more about, from the other attorney, so that's probably an hour for that, and then adjournment. Ms. Craybill?
So we've got 185,
And you said other attorney meaning the insurance attorney?
Yes. Mhm. And the winner is, dun, 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 dun.
we have 250 minutes divided by 60, 4 hours and 0.16, so we're over 4 hours.
Over 4 hours.
So I would like to suggest that we take off the cell phone discussion and move it to a work session and schedule a meeting for the work session right here while we're sitting here. Just pull out our calendars and let's do it, because the topic is important.
Mr. Manager, you fine with that? You okay with that?
I'm fine with that. We got
Okay.
plenty of time as long as we schedule. I mean, we've been,
Okay,
like
all right.
brought it up.
So we will move the cell phone in classroom discussion to a work session, which we'll, and Ms. Craybill is making the suggestion, we pull out our calendars right now.
I mean, I'm just suggesting, we don't have to do that,
Well, I
but
mean,
it's taken us
it's
3
been-
months now to schedule
Yes,
this
it's been
meeting.
very hard to do, I will agree with you 100%. We could do that now, or we could do that after the closed session. That way we're...
Let's do it
we're
after.
done. You want to do it after? Okay. We will do that, please remind me. All right, so that is our meeting for next week. At this point, we will move to a closed session.
I thought okay, sorry.
Am I missing something? No, closed session, yep, that's what we got. I will call for a motion to go to closed session pursuant to General Statute 143, 31811 for the following purpose: to prevent disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to General Statute 115C 402, and not considered public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes. Consult with the attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the board, including in respect to John Doe's 15 through 17 versus New Hanover County Board of Education and BH versus New Hanover County Board of Education, and to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, and conditions of employment and conditions of initial employment of an individual employed or considered for employment with the school system, or to hear investigate, a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against any individual employee. Is there such a
Second.
motion?
Motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
First and second, any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Passes 7-0, we are in closed session. Board members, if you need to make a stop, you are definitely welcome to do so.
Mr. John Henry, can you hear me?
Is this Anita Baggy?
Yes, sir.
Read.
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. I can hear you loud and clear, Anita. It's great talking to you.
You as well. See you soon.
Hey, thanks.
Our next item is our consensus items, personnel report. I would
All of
entertain
it,
a
A, B,
motion.
and
We
C.
do just all of them?
Sorry, yeah. I would entertain a motion to accept, or to accept the consensus items.
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second? We have a first and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
The only point of discussion I had with the polling places usage, I know this is for the countywide elections, but I know there was concerns with the municipal elections. So moving forward, when we're looking at the polling agreements, if it's possible to potentially tell the Board of Elections, please don't use any of our facilities that do not have single access entry, that they don't have to walk into our schools beyond like a single door, such as like a cafeteria or multi-purpose rooms, something like that.
Those are the best.
Those are the best options, but I know some
Less
of
parking.
the facilities, like they have to go in the main entrance and walk down the hall to, or into a room, so I support this agreement, but.
Point well taken. You and I have talked about it, and I work with the Board of Elections. We made a couple of changes in some locations within schools, and then we moved to, like Ashley to Anderson. So we're constantly looking at that, and we'll continue that effort.
Thank you. Okay, we have any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes 7-0. Carrying on, we have our information, Title IX update.
Yes, and I've invited Mr. John Henry, Colonel John Henry, to join us.
Okay.
He should be here on Zoom.
There he is. Welcome.
John, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, good evening.
You're frozen.
Well, in effort, once we get him back soon, why don't we carry on to the next, we'll skip that and come back to it. We have the Head Start report. Ms. Barnhart.
And I'll wait till it comes up on the screen. I think the biggest shout out was just the winter ball that the families that participated in back in December. They had a great time, and you see our numbers. Any questions for me?
Any questions?
Rocking and rolling. Many of us got to visit one of the centers today.
Any questions, board members? If not, let's see if we can thank you for your report. Let's carry back over to our Title IX. If we can get him back.
Yeah. And then we have committee assignments.
Okay.
All right. Why don't we, there's a motion to postpone the Title IX update. There's first and second. Any discussion?
Until when? We've been trying to do this for 3 months,
Can we,
and everybody asked for it.
We can't put it on the agenda for next week because the agenda's already full. So if we added it to next week, we go over.
We can take something off the agenda that's not as crucial.
yes, sir.
If I could make a suggestion, what Mr. Colonel Henry and I can do is to draft sort of a case, sort of an update for you guys, and I'll put it in your next board memo if that would be sufficient.
This is something that I need some information because we're having a Title IX committee meeting on the 12th. We need to have this so that the people coming to that meeting, I don't want them to hear it first before the board has heard it. And if we put it in respectfully, if we put it in our board packet, the community doesn't have a chance to see that. And I think this is worthy of the community, and our board had expressed that interest, that they want to hear it and they want to be able to ask questions.
What about, I'm throwing out suggestions, but what about, I know we have a 4-hour limit, but we can always waive that. We have that authority. And we could add Colonel Henry back. Is he back? He's back. Maybe the answers Answer prayer. You're back.
Can you speak?
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
back.
Carry on, sir.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know where I got cut off there. We had some technical difficulties, but bottom line with Title IX is that President Biden, as I was saying before, on his first day in office, he ordered his administration to review all the Title IX regulations, which is what they've been doing for the last 3.5 years. So those regulations were supposed to come out in the fall of 23, but they've been delayed to, now the word is May or June of 2024. So that's when the regulations are expected to come out. They had a lot of issues with notice and comments. There was millions of comments they had to answer, so that's what's taking so long. Any questions about that?
Any questions, board members? No,
And
sir.
Colonel Henry, Mr. Chairman, when you and I were talking, that also, those new Title IX laws may necessitate us to review those with policy because they may come into conflict with current policies that we have.
Right, you're right, Chris, because there's a couple issues, and again, this is all conjecture because we don't know exactly what's going to come out, but some of the major changes are going to be, for sexual harassment, for a misconduct to be sexual harassment under Title IX, it's going to be severe, pervasive, and objectively offensive. And that's the word and, it's got to be all three. But President Biden's proposing to chop that up into, put an or instead of an and. So we don't have to prove one of those things to do that. So that's one of the big things. The second one is we're going to move off-campus misconduct will be covered by Title IX sexual harassment also. So you're right, Chris, that's a lot of changes. Again, it's all conjecture out there, but the changes will facilitate or force us to change some of our policies on Title IX.
Any questions from board members? Ms. Graybill?
So, Colonel Henry, do you have any statistics? What I'm looking for is, that I think the board was looking for was, what have we done in the past year? When Mr. Lewis was here, his last report was for the 21-22 school year, and he gave a report of the trainings that we had done, trainings that were required, trainings that were done, how we implement that in our school district.
Graybill, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. You were cut off. I didn't hear all the rest of what you said. Are you looking for statistics for the past couple of years, Ms. Graybill? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, you know what, yeah, I mean, I don't know that you have this, but if you recall, you were an investigator when Mr. Lewis was here, and he gave a report to the board, an update on the 21-22 school year, on the significant milestones that we had met, maybe not even significant, the milestones that we had met during that year, the number of cases that were brought forward, the numbers that were closed, the numbers that are still open, and of course, most of it, none of this you can tell us any details on because it's all protected information. But not only with he had talked about the different statistics between the bullying and the sexual harassment and the harassment based on gender. Those are all things that will be coming out in, if it ever gets put out, it will be there. And then also too, the trainings that we provide annually or quarterly or biannually, and the different levels of people that are Title IX decision makers. We as the board being the appellate decision makers, the principals, and I just think, and our board had so many questions about what we've done, what we plan to do, and then also too, there's the other half of Title IX, which is the athletics. And so we have had some things that have occurred in that. I think the board would like an update. Maybe Mr. Lewis Mr. Kelly Lewis might be a better person to provide that update. So that's a lot to ask, and I thought I was kind of clear, but maybe I wasn't, and I apologize. But so I think our board is looking for more information, and where this was brought up was because we hadn't met and we had no updates. So does this board want a Title IX board committee, or do we want to have it be a district-led committee because we can't talk about most of the stuff that goes on. We can talk about and learn about the training that is required, and, for you guys to tell us, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. And some of these things that we had listed out in our settlement agreement, just so that the community knows that we have not taken our eye off of this, that it is a very important area for us at all times. But who is the right group to do the managing of that? Who brings the information? Because as the Title IX committee chair, and if it's not me, whoever it is coming up, we're not entitled to a lot of this information unless we're in closed session, so we wouldn't even be able to talk about it. So I was just trying to make sure our board understood and had all their questions answered, because there was a bunch of questions asked back in October, and when we first just started floating this idea. So maybe this is better to postpone and try it again at an upcoming meeting. But it's important information that I wanted us all to hear at the same time, be on the same page and ask questions again. Because you all, and I jotted down all these questions that you had to try and get them answered. So I can't answer most of those.
Ms. Walker?
I was just going to make a suggestion, because we do have a committee reports section. I mean, you wouldn't have to add it as could it not fall under a committee report?
Exactly where it should be, yes.
But it would have to be under an agenda review.
So we can bring it back even as next
But
week.
that's at the end of the agenda, and that will be the first thing cut off when we get to 4 hours.
Yes.
So we can plan to have John sit in our meeting for 4 hours and not get a chance to talk again, which, I'm sorry, but yeah, so I just think we need to make a concentrated effort to get the information that we've all asked for.
Ms. Mason?
We could just talk
Would
less.
it be possible to push it to the next agenda review, since we want this information? Would that be, that would give our expert more time to gather? And
I
then
don't
can,
care.
and
You
then
guys
can
wanted the information.
Gather all of those questions that everyone had, and then send them, and then that information can be shared perhaps at the next month's agenda review. Does that sound reasonable to the board? Or
Yes, sir.
We do have a lot of these numbers collected for you already. John, Colonel Henry's looked at the last couple of years in cases and how many we've had this semester so far. We've done some diving into the, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, about the athletics and the parity between girls and boys sports. I can share with you the training activities that we've done. I'm certainly prepared to do either one. And I'll follow it up with more documentation inside that board review anyway.
I would just add that I can get with you, we included in the same report, but as you know, the funding for design for the capital project, the capital improvements portion of the report, that was funded in this year's capital budget, and we'll be asking for construction funding. Actually, I take that back. I'm thinking of another project. We do have funding. It's being designed. We're getting ready to get 100% construction documents this month. So
And that's for Godwin Field, right? And Hoggard.
It's for, yes, the
Okay.
girls softball team, or the girls softball field at Hoggard and Godwin Field, which the girls softball team plays for Hanover.
So those are just kind of, we don't need like a whole, deep dive in there. I just was trying to get answers to our board members who had asked specific questions. So if you'd like me to gather those from everybody and shoot them off to you again, and we can try again at another juncture, then we can do that.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
want to be argumentative. I just want to get the information out that we asked for and to close that loop.
Just put it on a piece of paper and hand it out, and then we'll have to discuss it.
But somebody's going to have to read it to the public, because the public does want to know this.
Maybe we can
Put it on the
split the
website.
baby if you'd like. I can send it out to you guys in the board memo, and then we can be prepared to present it at the next board meeting if you'd like with more information.
That's a great idea.
As I nominate Mr. Henry to do that, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good volunteer. I saw the hand go up. Yeah, there it is. We had mentioned before having dates, so if you guys would grab your calendars, please.
This is gonna be interesting.
right. And I think Ms. Bowie had mentioned, so we have need for 2 dates. I'll try to speak. So first we have the last day of the CCL, and I guess the date she had put out was possibly the 22nd of March, but you said there was a problem, correct?
We did have one board member to attend that day.
Okay.
National Association of School Conventions.
So that will not work, so
We can't do, the 22nd is not, we're not going to do it?
I guess because we had one person that could not be there. I mean,
May I ask if it's a person who attended?
She said no.
Okay, so perhaps we can just move on and get for those of us who were there and anybody else that wants to join us?
That's the will of the board, you know. What do you?
I got it in the calendar already.
Yeah, I would like for them to bring some closure to us,
Okay.
and wrap up. I mean, that we had a lot of good information, and then we can share it with the board member that
Okay.
is not able to join us.
I don't have a problem. That's the will of the board, that we can leave it. The
Others weigh in, I mean,
CCL.
I'm not.
Yeah. CCL on the 22nd. And then we have the workshop, which has, basically looking at the 2 town halls, and now also looking at the cell phone policy.
I have written down for Teacher Support Testing Day, tutoring, summering, CTE, nursing, allied, discipline.
We got way too much. I mean, we have to narrow that down.
Well, that's all the stuff that I have written down that we have for January.
When you say workshops looking at the 2 town halls, what do you mean?
The
We
work
had-
session.
Yeah, we had a work session. We were going to come together
And like
and
digest what we learned? Okay.
Yeah,
Just
discuss
want to check,
that.
just want to make sure.
We also have a whole bunch of other things here, testing day, monitoring.
Like, there's all
summer
the stuff
school.
that I've written down over the course of the last few
Yeah.
months that we decided
That we want to
discuss
discuss
in
in
work
work
session.
But I think we need to focus.
Yeah, why don't we just do the town hall?
I think it's already
Let's
scheduled.
look
Let's
at this
get the
point
town hall.
for the town hall and we just talked today about doing the cell
And I
phone.
think that was part of it.
Yeah, okay. So why don't we, let's look at March 14th.
So you're putting
Can
town
we look in
hall and cell
February?
phones together in a package?
Sorry?
Can you look in February?
We can look in February. February's a good.
Yeah, because we're getting ready to start February.
Okay, we have the capital outlay is on the 22nd, and we also have
On the 12th, we have our budget
budget.
work session.
Budget.
So how many hours is that? Sorry.
Bring a sleeping bag.
Yeah, so is it possible that we
2 hours.
meet, take a break, and then meet again? Because,
Why not?
It says it's 2 hours.
okay, all right, that's fine, I hear you.
It says 2 hours.
2 hours.
How about Monday the 19th?
Monday the 19th, which is President's Day.
I have a,
What month we in?
I can't do
what
it.
time? What time?
10 o'clock. He likes 10.
I
I
can't do
can't do
that.
it.
Let's back
I can't
up
do
and
it.
make sure we all got this down. We got the
February,
We moved.
budget on the 12th, starts at 10 a.m.,
10 a.m.,
and that's going to go for how long?
2 hours.
2 hours.
Okay, that's what we said.
And we have capital outlay on the 22nd at 9 a.m.
Got that? We're set.
And you're leaving.
I'm not gonna be here on the 13th.
We'll speak for
Oh,
you.
through the 22nd, that's Summer Soccer.
So 22nd, so you'll be back on the 22nd. How about
27th.
27th?
She's gone 2 weeks.
Both years just don't work.
February.
I'd like to.
How about the 29th
We're gonna
then, to
make
give
it
you
be.
like a chance to get home and get.
It's leap
wash
day,
The
yay.
27th is agenda meeting.
Yes.
True.
Said
Will you be here
29th.
for that?
29th?
Huh? Oh, yeah, I'll be
29th? 29th?
so far.
Yeah, I can do 29.
29th? 29th? 29th?
I think the
This workshop?
I think the 29th will work, however, y'all have moved the agenda review to March the 5th, to correspond with the movement of the March meeting, which is
right.
moved to.
So we moved that to the
Election day.
27th, didn't we?
We moved the agenda review to March the 5th, and then the March board meeting will be on March the 6th. So there's no.
I
thought
so
we
there's
said
no
the
agenda March
6th.
5th.
We go.
We said we
I
didn't
thought
want
we
to do
said
anything
the
on March
6th was
5th.
the meeting.
Yeah,
that we just
we're not
moved it
doing it
one
on
day.
March 5th because I would remember that.
But
It's an election day.
It's my birthday.
Right, that's what she's saying.
Okay, so
And I'm not
it's
coming
on
in.
We moved the
March
agenda to the
6th.
6th.
6th is the-
Yeah, we moved the agenda briefing to the 6th, Wednesday the 6th.
From the 27th.
No,
Yeah.
we did not. We moved the whole meeting.
Why do we move it to the
We
6th?
moved the real meeting.
Because we don't want to do it on the 5th.
We got sidetracked, we got sidetracked.
Can we let Crystal talk?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of
Yeah,
people
I
talking.
guess.
Hey, y'all.
Thank you.
The agenda review, y'all always have flexibility there because, you know, we try to keep it on a Tuesday. So it, as we like to say, it is at the will of the board. We can either keep it on February the 27th, which will be 2 weeks before you have your board meeting. But currently, we have it set for March the 6th.
Folks, what do you want to do?
I'm good with that.
Which?
The 6th.
The 6th? Okay, the 6th?
That's your agenda review, and then the following week, on March the 12th, will be your March regular board meeting.
Okay. So let's look back into February, the 29th.
And you're here.
When you're back, yeah, you're back.
Yeah, 29th for the
29th.
workshop. Going once.
10 o'clock? 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock?
How many hours do we allow?
2 hours? Huh?
10:30 would be better.
10:30?
Yes, sir.
10:30.
29th is a
10:30 would be
Thursday,
Yep,
so 10:30, and it's a
Work.
2-hour thing?
session, yep.
You said 10:30?
10:30, 12:30, yes, sir.
And you're going to send out the invite.
I
She's
thought I did that.
Crystal sent out the invite. Awesome, thank you, Crystal.
You
Will we
okay?
be responsible to send anything? Yeah.
Is that good?
Okay.
What will we need? Do I need to prepare? Is this just the board?
We're just gonna, what we need to do is get all the information we have from the town halls and bring that together.
And
So-
Mr. Cardello has sent us that. Josh sent it to us in the beginning, and, no, you sent them both to us.
Yeah.
Yes, so those are the ones that we've had, and you've sent us all of that. And we all have our own personal notes, too.
Okay. We have 2 last bits of information. I have committee assignments I'm gonna hand out on the way out. And the other piece is, and then I'm gonna run. I didn't say it out loud, didn't I? Sorry about that. We have a motion to adjourn, second?
Second.
We have a second first. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Thank you.
What can we do to
Thank you,
help get the
Central
room
Office.
ready?
Thank you, everybody. There you go, one for you.